It all starts with a girl has the $10 to spend. If you have what she wants, you can be a very big manufacturer. If you don't have what she wants, nobody can help you.
As simple as that, to decide for a woman what she wants to wear and multiply her by the millions. $100 million in rags. The floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Every minute of every working day, it reflects the drama of American industry, of the people who own it, of the people who run it. Thousands of companies owned by millions of people. And behind this daily ferment are true stories more fascinating than fiction. From the pages of Fortune magazine, the story of one of those companies, Jonathan Logan Incorporated, a giant among pygmies. Even on the island of Manhattan, the garment center is only a dot, 1/10 of a square mile, its boundary sharply etched by custom and competition. And within this tiny world, a world all its own, the dress business, the rag game. 7th Avenue, the main street of what Fortune has called the Wild West of United States industrial society, a last frontier of small enterprise. An industry with an annual retail volume of $15 billion a year is operated here under almost medieval conditions. Unsure of itself, rightfully suspicious of every competitor, and in mortal terror of its customers, the garment industry's maxim is that every season is a new business. And on this frontier, no cavalry comes riding to the rescue. The woman's outerwear industry is composed of almost 5,000 firms, some of which last no longer than a woman's whim. The rate of failure is fearsome. Generally undercapitalized, a new company has to depend on its own sense of feel, on intuition, on energy, and of course, on the dominant instinct, survival. 200,000 men and women work in this teeming 1/10 of a square mile. They have created their own legends and humor, much of it mordant, reflecting the myriad fears of their everyday existence. A world abundantly populated by pretty women, but primarily a man's world, in which there are few illusions about what the American woman thinks she looks like and what she really does. In his classic novel of the garment industry, I Can Get It For You Wholesale, Jerome Weidman wrote, "Go out into the street blindfolded and reach out. The first guy you'll touch will react the same way. Every one of them, every salesman, every factory man, every shipping clerk, every one of them is dying to go into the dress business for himself. And every one of them does, sooner or later." But the perils they face are best illustrated by the fact that in children's underwear, how safe that sounds, one firm alone lost $6 million when bouffant petticoats suddenly went out of style. $100 million in rags will continue after this message. Characterizing the industry, Dr. Lazar Tepper, Research Director of the International Ladies Garment Workers Union.
The garment industry is a very large industry when you look at it in global numbers. It has the characteristic of being the home of the small man. It's the mainstay of the small business in the United States.
We have to work very tightly here. We have no room for error. Very little margin for error. We have to be right 80%, 90% of the time in order to exist.
Allison Frocks, co-owners Jess Newberger and Phil Stein, have annual sales of about $2 million. Small as they are in the upper 50% of the garment industry, in which 24% of all women's outerwear companies do under $250,000 a year. 23% have an annual volume of from $500,000 to $1 million. Another 23% from $1 to $2 million. 7% from $2 million to $5 million. 2% from $5 to $10 million. And only 1% can and boast of annual sales of over $10 million. So if the garment industry is a jungle, as it's so often been described, this man is its undisputed king. He started on this very street as a shipping clerk, then a salesman, then the inevitable. With a capital of $7,500, he went into business for himself. Today, the president of Jonathan Logan Incorporated, David Schwartz. In an industry, remember, where only 1% of the companies have annual sales of over $10 million, Jonathan Logan now has reached the $100 million mark. It's the only status symbol of its kind in the business. In 1960, Jonathan Logan went public. In 3 years, adjusted net profit went from $2 to $3 million. Profit as percent of sales dropped from 4.25% to 3.9%. Jonathan Logan, 22 separate divisions. But even with this, David Schwartz can't stop. In mid-1963, David Schwartz made the move which put him over the $100 million mark. With the aid of a loan from the Prudential Insurance Company, he purchased R&K Originals with annual sales of $25 million. Henry Kalman, R&K's former owner, signs the final papers, and years of negotiations come to an end. But if David Schwartz has any deep sense of crowning triumph, it is well concealed. He signs the acquisition papers impatiently, a restless man for whom this is only a formality. In his mind, this has long since been an accomplished fact. And meanwhile, who's watching the business? A celebration, however, does seem called for, so later that night.
Now I want to call on Mr. David Schwartz.
Your future with us is just as great as it was before. In fact, we have much more to offer you. What we need people who are willing to work hard and willing to prove themselves. We have lots of room for you. We may be able to take a man out of R&K, put him in Jonathan Logan. We can take people and put them in different segments of our business, wherever we can help improve our standing. And secondly, we need some good ball players. Well, R&K is going to add on tremendously onto our earnings. They do earn over $1.5 million after taxes every year. And we paid all cash for it, so that will add on at least 50 cents a share to our earnings.
$100 million in rags will continue after this message. At Frederick Atkins Company, a large department store buying agency, Clayton's on David Schwartz.
I would say that he's probably a perfect adaptation to our industry. In other words, he's not a machine-made man out of Harvard. He's a man who has been characterized as being intuitive, and with everything that implies, being able to move fast, make fast decisions. And it's not really completely intuitive, it's just years of experience plus a natural ability to move and move in the right direction.
One of the most brilliant moves David Schwartz ever made was to Spartanburg, South Carolina, a trip he now makes on the average of once a month, partly by commercial plane, the rest by chartered plane. Noting a rising demand for a European fabric called double knit jersey, he made the biggest gamble of his career, the largest capital investment ever made by any dress company. In the garment industry, machinery traditionally has been a millstone. Fixed assets are feared, so uncertain is every season. But here in Spartanburg, David Schwartz built the only facility of its kind, a completely integrated and vertical factory for the production of double knit garments. Double knit, with its natural adaptability to American casual dress, now accounts for a healthy slice of Logan's profits. By knitting his own fabric, Schwartz can produce double knit at almost half the cost of imported fabric. His competitive edge is enormous. As David Schwartz walks through this plant with his son Richard and plant manager Andrew Tessler, he communicates, for him, a rare, unabashed pride. Pride in this place that he planned, that he built, that he can touch, see, and hear. 400,000 square feet of highly specialized machines and hands. The wool and synthetic fibers come in one door and leave as finished dresses from another. Every interim operation, cutting, spinning, dyeing, knitting, and sewing, they all take place on one floor, under one roof. If industrial plants have a gender, this one is female. Not only because most of its employees are women, not only because it creates women's fashions, there is, in the very rhythm of the place, a feeling of women in an age-old activity, with age-old dexterity, coupled with modern technology. In the plant cafeteria, with its variety of plain but filling food, a single-minded man stops, almost reluctantly, for lunch. Soup and a sandwich. After which, the conversation isn't allowed to wander very far from the business at hand.
I told you that Freddie said he sent over 100 pounds of linen.
Yeah.
You'll have enough linen, won't you?
Yeah. I would have a tender frame. If I could buy myself a small tender frame,
What's a
I
tender
could do it
frame?
all in my research lab, work out the whole
What is that?
problem. That's a heat setting unit.
What does that cost?
Oh, it costs $10,000-15,000.
Get one for nothing.
I can't get it, Dick. I went to every manufacturer to get one. They're in such demands, I can't get it. And I have to go to 4 different dye houses to work out these problems. You know what that means, to go and borrow time and beg for favors.
Well, all right, spend the $10,000. What
Can't get the machine.
Yeah, I could get the machine if I could spend the money.
All right, go ahead, spend it. Go ahead.
I said,
Let's get out of here. Come on, come on.
The workers linger. But later, in Tesler's office, Schwartz and Son discuss some choice Irish linen, in short supply and coveted by 2 of the Logan divisions.
You can't do that to me, Richard. They gotta have that linen knit.
If I'm not going out of business for R&K, I told you that
But
once.
you gotta split it with them.
They have plenty of business they can do for
You gotta
themselves.
give them the linen knit also. Well, you got any linen here yet?
No.
no, we don't. We only have sampling. They don't give us anything till they don't sit down with us and discuss the merchandising of this fabric. Till then, they won't give us an ounce more than the samples.
Which Irish government is that? The part of the Irish that we are?
That's good.
The Free Island?
That's good.
Well, they gotta give it to us. What do you mean they wouldn't give it to us? Geez, they invested a couple $1 million with it, the Irish government. They're not gonna let us down.
They can only have my surplus, that I'll take.
Well, these are the
I agree with you, but you should try to develop a surplus and they'll have it. If you
I will
start
try to
bidding early
develop a
enough, then you'll have a
surplus,
surplus.
but they can only have my surplus.
No, you're kidding, but you gotta put him in that. He's dying for that.
He's
knit.
dying for it because we're doing it.
I'm sorry, Richard. He was looking for it before
And he
you and I
couldn't
ever
get
merged.
it, and he couldn't get
No,
it.
you gotta give him the linen, don't forget.
Still a winner?
No, don't forget, Andy. I'm holding you responsible for that.
You
No,
are?
sir. I'm not kidding.
It's all right.
Listen, how long does it take me to get to the airport? I have to be there by 1:45.
With the president and chairman of the board on his way back to New York, Richard Schwartz and Tesler get down to the selection of fabrics for the holiday line. At the age of 24, Richard Schwartz, Logan's executive vice president, is heir apparent to the presidency, if and when his father retires.
You leave it here? Red combination, okay.
I want 2,500 red.
Red combination.
I'll make it 2,000 red.
Okay.
I want 2,000. 2,000, I want 750 of this, and I want 1,250 of this blue combination.
All right.
Now, before you go ahead with this one, I'd like to see a garment.
Okay.
It's a good hanger dress. Unbutton the top up there. That's it. Just let it hang a little bit loose. No. Can you fix that?
what's happening to the United States that most people don't realize, that because of the shopping centers and people living in suburban areas, fashion hasn't been number one. Fashion has been number two. It's casual living. And for casual living, you need casual clothes.
Again, I say our business is so fast and so much of an art that I believe it still depends on the person interpreting what people want or forecasting what people want.
7:30 a.m. 6 days a week, the workday starts for David Schwartz outside this luxury apartment house on New York's Fifth Avenue. He lives here with his wife of almost 30 years. They have one son and one daughter. Both son and son-in-law work for Jonathan Logan Incorporated. The evaluations of David Schwartz as a human being are varied and often unquotable, but the words energy and movement are invariably included. The Garment Center is a small and constantly changing world. Its reception hall is frequently on the street, where deals are made, companies formed and dissolved. And for Schwartz this morning, an appointment made with the division head to discuss the not too promising future of several employees.
I'll be up in a couple of minutes.
$100 million in rags will continue after this message.
You just tell me what, I don't care about,
come
do
through.
me a favor, just tell me what's on your mind about this thing, that's all.
Everybody, including myself, the way you left this thing when these two boys left it. To be in New York, spend more time in New York, which I agree.
He can't be with us anymore, he's out. He's not gonna wait there.
If I can't talk, Dave, what?
Yeah, but you're trying to tell me that he's gonna be there, but he's not gonna be there. You give me a reason why I shouldn't let him go. You give me one good reason, that's the only thing I want.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, you tell me what.
I'll do that.
You explain to me how he can get $37,000, your assistant gets $12,000, how his secretary gets $6,000. Now you tell me why I should keep him. See why he should be there.
Dave.
And why I can't replace him. Could he be replaced by somebody just as good as he, or better?
No, not at the moment, Dave.
Why not?
It'll take time to break a guy in. Wait, Dave, let me say something. Let me put this on a basis that I think is a fair basis to everybody. And I'm going to be the boss. And I'm telling you that right now. If I can't do a job, I don't want to be here. But I'm going to be the boss, and I'm going to show you that what I say is right. I'm going to prove it to you. I don't care what you think or what anybody else thinks.
I have all the confidence in the
I'm
world
gonna
in
prove
you.
it.
You're going to have charge.
I'm going to prove it. Give me that chance for 4 months, Dave. I'll take complete responsibility.
Why can't we get a new man?
Dave, I think because I can do better with the old man. I'll make the old man new. Now, what do you think of that? Because
I don't
he's
think
got.
you will.
I will. I will. I'm willing to jeopardize my own position.
He can't get no 37.
To say that I'll do.
He don't work for $25,000. He can't work there. He
Oh,
ain't
Dave,
work.
you can't.
I'm going to keep him there.
You can't knock a guy down.
The
for
hell
that.
I can't. I'm not going to pay that kind of money for that kind of an idiot. I'm finished with that. What am I, crazy?
But then answer all the mail, all the stuff we have.
He's not going to answer no mail. I'm going to get a kit for $12 a week to answer that mail. You're going to answer mail, huh? Will you tell Bernie Walker to call me as soon as he comes in? This is Mr. Schwartz. What the hell do I need? I need a funny guy for $35,000, 30-something to answer mail? What kind of the thing is that? It's so hard to answer mail? I'm kicking that assistant out this week. I'm kicking that secretary out this week. They gotta go.
You won't do it on my basis.
P.S. The man was kept on. David Schwartz, like almost everybody else in the garment industry, calls it the rag business. But this seemingly contemptuous phrase is belied by the obvious pride in the quality of his product. The major factor, it's agreed, in Jonathan Logan's continued growth.
That's the finest fabric you can buy at any.
Schwartz runs his business by instinct, perhaps, but it's an instinct based on years of experience, years of contact with the ultimate judge, that girl with $10. The garment center during its peak market periods is invaded by thousands of buyers. The pace is hectic. Salesmen in the Logan showrooms have their lunch in. But for this dedication, they are rewarded by average salaries of $20,000 a year. Unlike most other firms, Logan pays a flat salary with no commission.
Front to the scoop back.
That's a good one, deep body.
There is still another incentive, the constantly moving figure of David Schwartz.
Give me a couple of other big ones.
Fashion goes through a cycle. The original creations, the haute couture, starts with your European trends, I believe. That is inspiration to other people who pick up ideas and create their own ideas upon these ideas, and it's worked into such an extent that the whole country will eventually accept that original idea in a variation.
Judy Emhoff, the Jonathan Logan designer, exudes a quiet competence in a profession noted for its temperament, if not for its job security. In the size group 5 to 15, the junior size to which Logan sells, the details of a sleeve or a hem or a collar can make the difference between a successful fashion called a Ford and a failure called a dog. Every morning, David Schwartz visits the Logan Factory in North Bergen, New Jersey, where dresses are cut, sewn, and shipped. Many garment firms job out these operations to small contractors, but in Logan, there is a fastidious attention to detail and quality. And on this morning, Schwartz again demonstrates with flashing impatience the intense concentration of a man for whom big business is a succession of small but vital problems.
Down about the music.
You have 2,000 in stock. All I cut was 2,600. How could you have two houses?
There's got to be something wrong with the report. I discussed this with Milton before, too, Mr. Schwartz.
We sell this every day in a week.
We checked with
Remington on that. Perfectly, we can get him.
But there's something wrong because I'm selling this dress every day in a week. It's a reordered dress. Yeah.
It's not selling that much.
Well, let's keep quiet. I sold more than 100 dresses, didn't I? I got 2,600 cut. I got 2,000 in stock. Now, how the hell can I have 2,000 in stock? There's something wrong. Hey, look at this. I got 2,400 sold. It's $12.65. I checked these cutting tickets. They're all correct.
We don't see that temper. Of course, we're customers. We're not subordinates. I think the temper in the past has been directed more to the subordinates. As I understand it, though, in his dealings with his peers and his superiors, if he has any, he's an excellent businessman, an excellent administrator, and a very tempered gentleman.
Jonathan Logan stock opened on the New York Stock Exchange at 13 3/8. Its 1960 high was 18 1/4. Its low 8 5/8. 61 high 30 1/8. Low 15 1/2. 62 high 29 1/8. Low 15. In mid-1963 at a high of 21 1/4.
You've got a problem here, and you're not solving one thing for me. You had 5,000 transition dresses. They should be sold.
This constant attention to detail, his ability to make fast decisions, his faith in his own judgment, his undeniably strong personality. These have made Schwartz vulnerable to charges that Logan is strictly a one-man operation. But he has built up a management reserve of bright young men to whom he gives considerable freedom and autonomy.
It's a job. They're very good dresses, and somebody could use them. I know it's no good.
I know the heads of each one of his divisions. He's got the best team on 7th Avenue.
The workday is over for David Schwartz promptly at 5. For those who have had to keep pace with him, it's almost unthinkable that the day could last any longer. He is often called a genius, a one-dimensional genius perhaps, but still a man who has performed brilliantly over the long haul in an industry that is at a shocking rate of fatalities. Back again into the street, 7th Avenue, safe and secure now in the jungle where many years ago, an ambitious boy named David Schwartz waited impatiently for the garment industry's golden moment. That moment when you go into business for yourself.
It's much easier to be big than to be small. Actually, the thing that a small man fears is money, because if he loses capital, he's wiped out. The last thing that we fear is money. We have nothing but money.
This has been the story of just one man and one company. But there is no end to this story, just as man's ambition and man's ingenuity have no end. And this is the drama of what business is all about.